The movie begins with Camilla, who is tied up in a dark room, pleading for help. Her kidnapper, irritated by her screaming, walks in and electrocutes her with an improvised device as punishment. The film then turns to two best friends, Stephanie and Ellie, riding through Argentina's countryside, unaware of an in-person poster with the name Camilla. They stop in a small town and come across a local who is cleaning a shrine to what appears to be a series of lost individuals. Stephanie, with her mediocre Spanish, asks for directions to a hotel named Rosa Mara. The women arrive at their motel and check in for a one-night stay. Apparently, they want to take a bus to another city and fly back to the United States the next morning. A slightly creepy hotel employee assists them upon check-in. Stephanie is simply chilling, waiting for Ellie to finish up in the restroom, when she hears a knock on her door. After checking in and getting cleaned up, the two ladies go to a bar in town where Ellie chastises Stephanie for still replying to her ex. A waitress suddenly delivers them drinks and informs them that a special person inside the bar purchased the drinks for them, but they appear uninterested. A little time later, a blonde man enters the bar, and Stephanie is continually eyeing him. As a talented wing lady, Ellie goes to the jukebox and starts dancing to get the party started. The blonde male Stephanie looked at and appears to fight the bartender before going to the bathroom. Ellie unexpectedly follows him and starts to flirt with him, but he cuts her off right away. Not wanting to let the incident ruin her night, Ellie approaches the man who gave them drinks and begins flirting with him, while Stephanie, an introvert, ends up going home alone. By the end of the night, Ellie has brought the person back to their hotel room, while Stephanie simply sighs because Ellie's shenanigans make it difficult for her to sleep. In the excitement of the moment, the man tries to persuade Ellie to accompany him home, but she declines. Unable to accept her refusal, he begins to physically abuse her, which prompts Stephanie to intervene, enraged by the ruin of his good times. The man persistently knocks on their door. The blonde man from the bar, who is staying at the same motel, walks in before motel staff interrupts. In the morning, the two women overslept and were late for the bus, which only comes once a day. They try to chase it on their bicycles to no avail. Because there will be no other bus for a time, they return to their motel and book another flight. Meanwhile, Stephanie asks the receptionist about local activities, but Ellie appears to be too hungover to participate. When the creepy man walks in with a serious expression on his face, the receptionist excuses herself and requests that they speak quietly. Regardless, the two girls end up cycling to a site named Vuddle Logo, which the receptionist had earlier urged them not to visit. They pull up by a waterfall and bask in the sun. Stephanie informs her friend that it's time to leave, but Ellie isn't ready yet and believes Stephanie lacks the ability to have fun. Stephanie is offended, so she brings up how Ellie was being uncool at the bar last night for following the blonde guy to the bathroom, although Stephanie had first noticed him. Ellie apologizes and insists that nothing occurred, but the two women wind up arguing, with Ellie calling her out for still being obsessed with her ex-boyfriend who cheated on her. Stephanie responds by informing Ellie that she's not qualified to give relationship advice because she's never been in one. Stephanie goes away, leaving Ellie alone at the waterfall. Stephanie considers turning back as she cycles away from the premises but instead decides to continue pedaling to the next tourist destination they had intended to visit together. Ellie remains in the same spot on the opposite side of town, oblivious to the surveillance. She texts Stephanie to apologize for what she said and invites her to lunch. But as Ellie stands up to get dressed, a figure approaches her. Stephanie then goes to the restaurant where they had arranged to meet for lunch and looks for Ellie, but she is not there. She tries calling, but it goes directly to voicemail. Stephanie begins guiding her bike out from the restaurant, perplexed, when she encounters the blonde man from the previous night. He introduces himself as Michael and offers her a lift, but she declines. She returns to the waterfall in search of Ellie and discovers that Michael has followed her. They hunt for Ellie and try to reach her, but all they find is Ellie's cell phone on the ground and her bicycle gone. Michael discovers blood on the ground, and Stephanie contacts the police. Moments afterward, a police officer named CVO comes and appears to recognize Michael. CVO leads Michael to the station and shows him photos of Ellie. CVO isn't surprised to hear of a tourist going missing in his area, given the number of occurrences involving female tourists. After discovering that Stephanie and Ellie had a quarrel recently, the police officer dismisses the case, confident that Ellie will return shortly. Regardless, Stephanie accompanies the officer to the precinct and requests that he create a missing person report. The officer then informs her that this is all he can do for now and that he lacks the manpower to organize a search party. However, he offers to send the missing person complaints to the city's central police if Ellie does not return by tomorrow. Stephanie, with no other option, leaves the police station and walks about town, asking whether anyone has seen her companion, but everyone ignores her. To her amazement, she runs upon Chucho, the man who hooked up with Ellie the previous night. However, he begins running, prompting Stephanie to follow him, only to lose sight of him across a bridge. In despair, Stephanie goes to retrieve her bicycle, only to find it damaged due to tampering with the wheels. The girl walks back to the motel to find Ellie, but she is not there. She enters Michael's motel room and begins searching through his belongings after noticing that the door is slightly open. Unexpectedly, she discovers Ellie's bracelet there. She panics and reports the discovery to the officer, but he dismisses her once more. He promises to question Michael later but doesn't appear to take Stephanie seriously. From a distance, the hotel owner observes and inquires as to what is wrong. She comforts the girl and extends an invitation for her to come inside, all the while the unsettling motel staff hovers nearby. Stephanie notices Chucho riding a motorcycle. To begin her hunt, she decides to follow him in a stolen truck. Stephanie loses sight of Chucho after a long pursuit when he enters a closed location near the end of Argentina. She enters the gates and drives inside what appears to be the crumbling remains of a town. As she begins to explore, she notices someone following her. It turns out to be Michael, who calms her down and assures her that he is not attempting to harm her. It appears that the bracelet in his room does not belong to Ellie but to his lover Camilla, who went missing 6 months ago. Despite numerous reports of missing women in the area, the police have shown no assistance, so he's been conducting his search. After learning this, the two decide to split up and hunt for clues. Meanwhile, in a hidden corner of town, Ellie awakens and begins coughing in a musty room. Not long after, the officer arrives at the location where Stephanie parked her stolen truck and discovers Michael nearby. We could see that the officer was upset. He wonders where Stephanie is because she is sought for car theft, prompting Michael to criticize the sheriff for looking for a stolen car rather than a missing person. Hearing this, the officer orders Michael to get into the car so he may interview him about the bracelet. Now, Chucho and Ellie find themselves trapped in a room together. With no other choice, Ellie tries to entice him. He succumbs to her seduction, but when she tries to resist, he proceeds to sexually assault her. Fortunately, a phone call from Chucho's boss interrupts them, prompting the man to pause and respond. At the same time, Stephanie discovers Chucho's motorcycle and ventures further. Not long after, she discovers the building where Ellie is being held hostage and proceeds to turn off the generator to catch Chucho's attention. When the man goes to switch it back on, Stephanie accidentally knocks over a bicycle and curses at herself. She instantly hides while Chucho investigates the source of the disturbance, after which she sneaks up on Ellie. After reaching her best friend, she gets a knife and cuts through Ellie's tape, freeing her just as Chucho understands what's going on and pursues them down. They then continue sprinting into Stephanie's stolen truck and lock the doors. As usual, they are frightened and unable to start the car due to Chucho's persistent pounding on the window. Stephanie panics and tries to start the car, but it fails. Their surroundings abruptly get silent as the man vanishes, only to return with a brick hurled at the windshield, breaking it. As the vehicle is no longer operational, the two ladies depart and keep running, but Chucho manages to tackle Ellie to the ground, forcing her to strike her head hard and lose consciousness. Fortunately, Michael and the officer arrive just in time to stop Chucho from attacking Stephanie. While Stephanie is crying because she believes Ellie has died, having heard Stephanie's cries, the officer instructs her to stay inside the car, and the girl listens. But she soon senses something is wrong. Meanwhile, the officer makes a creepy statement about how Ellie's death is such a waste because she was so attractive, raising Michael's suspicions. Without any delay, Michael seizes the officer's gun, aiming it at him and Chucho, and demands that he reveal the location of his beloved Camilla. He orders the two to kneel, and the officer freely says that he knows where Camilla is and that she is still alive. But if Michael kills him, he will never find her. The officer then makes a deal: he will return Camilla if Michael lets him abduct Stephanie. Michael reluctantly accepts, but just as he does, the officer uses his backup gun and shoots Michael. Stephanie is kidnapped and taken hostage inside the police car before being taken to the officer's lair, where he discloses that he is a human trafficker who plans to sell Stephanie for $2,000 or possibly $6,000 if she is a virgin. He then takes a phone call and informs Stephanie that he plans to sell her to a business partner. Before they leave, they sedate her and carry her away on a boat at night. Stephanie awakens in the middle of the trip and picks up a fishnet, which she later throws at Chucho, causing him to fall into the ocean and drown. She then submerges herself, hiding underwater to loosen her bonds and remove them while the officer searches for her with a flashlight. Stephanie swims with all her effort to the shore, small black square, where an elderly man is waiting, who turns out to be the officer's business partner. The two men discuss business, with the elderly man initially hesitant to buy Stephanie because she appears to be someone other people are looking for. But eventually, he decides to acquire her. Stephanie refuses to accept her fate and kicks him in the balls before fleeing. The officer pursues her but hesitates to shoot her since he needs her alive. Stephanie finally comes across a man on a fishing wharf, but the officer shoots him dead right away. With nowhere to flee, she hides behind the table while the officer looks for her. When the coast is clear, she emerges from cover, only to be ambushed. After a struggle, she manages to take the gun from him. She then proceeds to shoot him to death. She slowly gets up and walks until the sun rises. It's early in the morning, and Stephanie notices a car approaching her. She's completely messed up after going through many bad events last night, so she picks a medium-sized rock and prepares to go all out on the driver of the vehicle. However, it turns out that this truck belongs to a local policewoman, who goes to aid her and transports her to safety. And this is where the movie ends. Thank you for watching. Until next time, have a nice day.